Okay, so when you hear the word cybersecurity, what do you picture? I bet it's something like hackers in hoodies, right? Green text scrolling down a black screen, digital firewalls. But here's the thing. What if I told you that the biggest security battles aren't actually fought in the code? What if they're happening in conference rooms, in courtrooms, and honestly, inside our own heads? Today, we're going to look at the whole map. So let's just put it out there. Is cybersecurity just about code and firewalls? Is it a problem we can solve if we just throw enough fancy tech at it? Better encryption, smarter AI detection systems? That's what most people think, right? But the reality? Oh, it's so much more complicated than that. Actually, if you look at some of the most just catastrophic security failures out there, you'll find they had almost nothing to do with some brilliant new exploit. Nope. It was all about something that looks a lot more, well, human. So to really get why this is, we need a better map. A map of the entire cybersecurity world. I'm not just talking about the technical highways. I mean the full terrain. And lucky for us, a map like that actually exists. It's called the Cybersecurity Body of Knowledge, or CyBOK for short. Seriously, you should think of it like the definitive atlas for the whole field. It takes everything and organizes it into 21 different but connected knowledge areas. And that's going to be our guide for this explainer. And right away, this thing just perfectly illustrates the point. Look at these top-level categories from CyBOK. Now, you've got the bottom four, which are super technical, right? That's your attacks, your systems, your software, your infrastructure. But that one at the top, human, organizational, and regulatory. It's all about people, companies, and laws. That's where we're going to be focusing today because it's the part of the map that honestly gets ignored way too often. Okay, so to really see why this matters so much, let's make it real. Let's walk through a total disaster scenario that, unfortunately, happens pretty much every single day somewhere in the world, a big old data breach. It always starts small, doesn't it? A really convincing email lands in an inbox. One click. That's it. But then, over the next few days or weeks, that one tiny action just cascades. The malware gets in, sensitive data starts pouring out, and by the time any of the fancy tech systems even flag an anomaly, the damage is done. The horse has left the barn. So here's the million-dollar question. Was that a technical failure? Or was it something else entirely? All right, let's follow the breadcrumbs. We gotta go back to that very first domino to fall. The human element. That one click that kicked this whole mess off. You see, every organization has this, let's call it, an ideal employee in their head. The one who follows crazy complex password policies, is always on high alert for suspicious links, and reports weird stuff immediately. But let's be real. That's not how people work. Actual human behavior is totally different. We are literally wired to find the path of least resistance, to find the quickest way to get our actual jobs done, not to spend all day navigating clunky security rules. And I love this. The authors of CyBOK just boil it down so perfectly. They say people fail to follow security rules for one of two simple reasons. Either one, they are unable to, the rules are just too complicated or they make no sense, or two, they just plain don't want to because all that security stuff gets in the way of them doing their job. And this is key. It's not about them being bad or malicious. It's about pure practicality. And this all leads to a state that I'm sure many of you have felt. It's called compliance fatigue. Think about it. We're all constantly being asked to do these extra enabling tasks on top of our regular work. Security training, safety training, you name it. And when security just becomes another annoying box you have to check, what happens? People will inevitably find workarounds. It's not a bug in your security program, it's a predictable, baked-in feature of human nature. Okay, so back to our disaster. That one click has now set off alarms all over the company. The problem has blown up. It's not about one person anymore. It's about the entire organization. And what happens next? Well, that has very little to do with technology and everything to do with culture. Now, there are best practices for this, right? Things like the NIST framework, which is mentioned in CyBOK, lay out a clear life cycle. Step 1, you prepare before an incident. Step 2, you handle it when it hits. And step 3, you follow up so you can learn from what went wrong. Seems simple enough, but the linchpin holding this whole thing together, it's not the tech. It's the culture. And this brings us to a really, really crucial distinction. You can have one of two cultures when failure hits. First, you've got the blame culture. In a blame culture, the first question everyone asks is, okay, who's getting fired for this? And what does that do? It makes people terrified to speak up. It pushes problems underground and guarantees that nobody will ever report a small mistake before it turns into a giant catastrophe. But then there's the just culture. Here, the first question is totally different. It's how did our system let this happen and what can we learn from it? You see the difference? It's about being accountable for learning, not just for punishment. But wait, it doesn't stop there. The fallout doesn't stay neatly contained within the company walls. Oh no. After the initial human mistake and the company's response, the problem just explodes outward into the super complex, super messy world of law and regulation. And the very first, and maybe biggest headache, is this word: jurisdiction. Just think about it for a second. Your company is based in, say, country A, but your data is on a cloud server over in country B. And the customer whose data got stolen, they live in country C. So, whose laws do you follow? Whose rules apply? In the borderless world of cyberspace, this becomes an absolute nightmare of a question with no easy answer. And we're not talking about just one law here. We're talking about a full-on legal minefield. A single breach can pull you into this tangled web of obligations. Suddenly, you're looking at massive fines from data protection laws like GDPR. You're looking at potential criminal charges under things like the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act. You could have lawsuits from customers claiming you broke your contract. And on top of all that, you can get sued for just plain old negligence, for not taking reasonable care. It's a mess. Okay, let's zoom back out. Let's bring it all together. We just watched how one single click can spiral completely out of control, moving through the human layer, then the organizational layer, and finally the legal layer of our big cybersecurity map. So if you're only focused on the tech, the code, the firewalls, it's exactly like trying to navigate a whole country with a map that only shows you the roads. You're totally blind. You can't see the giant mountains of human behavior or the raging rivers of organizational process or the international borders of law and regulation that you absolutely have to cross. So what's the big takeaway here? What do we walk away with? Well, first, you have to build your security for real people, not the perfect employees you wish you had. Second, your company's culture is a security control. It's either a good one that helps you or a bad one that hurts you. Third, the legal and financial risk can easily be more costly than the technical breach itself. And that brings us to the main point. True security is an interconnected system of technology, people, and policy. The tech is just one piece of a much, much bigger puzzle. Which really just leaves us with one last question for you to think about. When it comes to your own company, or even just how you personally think about security, are you looking at the whole map? Or are you trying to find your way through this incredibly complex and dangerous world with a blindfold on, completely missing the human, organizational, and legal terrain that's all around you?